one priorities that I would do to establish that guaranteed income. We would have to, like I said, we have to get the details, but I'm committed of doing this. Because I strongly believe, even Dr. King believed in the guaranteed income.
Right. But, okay, is there a possible way where you can declare an emergency to where those funds are released within a certain amount of time?
Well, if you're going through, if I go through this organization that has it, then that's something else. If we go through city money, that's a whole different story.
Why can't you do it by executive order?
Executive order, well,
Through the city manager.
Yeah, if it's you can do it through the emergency order.
There it is, right there. So, if you're from the city of Moreno Valley and you are in dire straits, you guys got to think about this. I know I joke about it on other shows and stuff. Do you know how many young women that have children? Okay, they're not getting child support, and I'm talking about young women like in their 20s, whatever deal is. And I said, I know I joke about it a lot, but this is serious stuff. They are now put in a position of either prostituting so that they can feed their baby, because they're not getting child support from, the young guy that's about their age, 23, 24 years. He's been laid off his damn self. So, what are these young women going to do to feed their babies? And that's real talk. And I know people don't want to talk about it, but that's real talk. You have rent due, you have things due. Yeah. She doesn't want to be on the streets. What do you think these young girls are going to do that have children? Yeah. And then what about the ones that don't have children? That's even worse. We're in a very economic bad situation, and no candidate other than Daryl Terrell is talking economics to try to pull us out of these situations. So I really enjoy having you on the show every now and then to talk about what's going on, because a lot of people see you in videos and they love the videos, by the way.
Oh, that's good.
But here we were talking earlier again about innovation.
Yeah.
You're using videos, you're using social media, you're doing TikTok, you're doing all that stuff, Instagram, all that stuff like that, and you're using podcasts. How many other candidates are doing that?
Don't know any.
Exactly.
But that's the thing about it though, because like this campaign is outside the box thinking. Mm-hmm. The way we're gonna get through this pandemic is gonna be outside thinking. We gotta think not the norm, but we gotta think differently about things. And that's why I say guaranteed income is different. Mm-hmm. A long time ago, people said, "Oh, that's crazy," but now you're seeing people. You got that $1,200 check from
one-time payment. Yes. That made no sense. But go ahead.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thinking we need to get us through this pandemic. Mm-hmm. You got to have someone who could think outside the box, a problem solver, not willing to take the risk and find out what we can do to make it a reality. Because I know this will be a reality.
Mayor-elect Terrell, you've got a lot of people that got raises this year. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of people at City Hall that don't live in this city, and they have exorbitant contracts. Would you be willing to renegotiate those contracts and renegotiate and maybe even repeal raises for symbolic council members? It makes no sense that a mayor of the city of Moreno Valley who isn't really control, making $7,000 a month. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, in a situation like that, the mayor, this time we all going through some tough times. Mm-hmm. And situations like that, we need to resort back to where it was before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And that's where it should go. To answer your first question. Now, the second question is about the absorbing income. Mm-hmm. We, as mayor, when I come in, we're going to renegotiate, because we are all suffering. This whole city, all of us suffering.
Some people are suffering. And we're talking about these people at City Hall that are making these exorbitant contracts. I mean, they're still getting paid.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about it, though, because there's people, as you said about the income, there's people who pay 50% of their income go towards rent. Mm-hmm. The people I'm thinking about are those out there, the ones who don't have the job. Mm-hmm. And we need to put a cap on these things. We need to put a cap on these raises. We need to roll them back.
And let them feel the same hurt that the city's feeling.
Yes, because we're going to need all the money we can to get through this. That's just plain and simple. We all have to sacrifice.
But the money you save in some of those salaries, you can use for the benefit of the residents, and show the residents, hey, here's the pot. Here's what we can do.
We can use that money. What you just said, we could roll back those caps and roll back the salaries and the council, use that money to be a funding source for a guaranteed income.
Exactly. And then it isn't like you're not justified to do it. We are in an economic situation.
Yes.
So a lot of people that are listening to this podcast, you've got people out there that actually think that they should have, okay, you're a public servant, that they should have, no matter what happens, we're in a recession. We're not in we're in a depression. We're not even in a recession. We're in a depression. You got people that think even in a depression, they should still get their salaries, even though they're not showing up at City Hall. They're not doing the exact same job.
Well, yeah, that's more like, to me, it's not living the reality. I mean, the reality of someone like who don't have a paycheck, someone who's eating ramen noodles or trying to get by, and people like that need to be brought to reality that they may not live here, but we do.
But
people,
and I'm going to cut you off, but it ain't like you're firing these people. You're saying, hey, everybody is suffering, so everybody is going to take a hurt, a pay cut.
There should be a rollback
across the board. And if they don't like that 30% pay cut that they're going to get, then maybe they should find another job, right?
Yeah, it should be a rollback in any budget situation. Because I remember back in the back in 2008-9, I made a proposal. We were going through a deficit during that time. A proposal of freezing salaries, rollbacks, 4 to 10 work periods. These ideas saved the city $6 million. And so what I'm suggesting, it's the same thing. Is because it's no fault of anybody that this thing has happened. But we are going to have to, as a city, make the sacrifices, roll back these contracts. Council need to take their own pay cut, and to help our fellow citizens in this community. And that means taking some of that money and helping, again, with a guaranteed income. Some of that money could be used for a guaranteed income to help a lot of people to get through this, because we don't know when the federal government or when these folks are going to go back to work.
And then basically what you're saying is, when the pandemic's over in a reasonable amount of time, then you go back to the original contract.
Yeah, that's all it is. This is a temporary action that I will do as mayor, because I believe it's the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do.
Yes, absolutely.
And as mayor, I would take a cut and roll back my thing, because I don't need to be
lead by example, right? You need to lead by example.
Yeah, and use some of that money to help fund a guaranteed income for the people who don't have no income.
Yeah, once again,
just a temporary fix to get through.
Right, and when times get better, you go back to the way it used to be.
Yes,
it's a temporary ordinance. So everybody that's listening to this is the only candidate that is talking economics and how to dig out of the hole. The other candidates are not talking about. Dwayne Lewis talks about something similar to what you're talking about in regards to fixing the city and where we need to go in District 1. So how can you guys be confused at who to vote for when somebody's offering you something and the other candidates aren't offering you anything at all? And that's what kills me about that. But
and it's realistic. This is realistic. This is not a show, a pie in the sky type of thing to get your vote. This is something that I'm committed to, because it's a moral thing that we're going through. People are suffering, and we need to do everything we can to help our fellow neighbor. We got to do, and I'm willing to lead by example, and to have these executive managers to roll back theirs to help out the folks who don't have nothing.
Absolutely, it makes no sense. Everybody else is suffering but them.
Yes,
and I don't care what your contract negotiated. It's because of what has happened, which is unprecedented.
Yes.
To me, all contracts are null and void and subject to renegotiation.
Well,
because the city ain't got any money, how are we going to pay you anyway?
Well, yeah, because this is a fiscal emergency.
Right.
And they did declare a fiscal emergency, so we need to take every single action from city council, mayor, executive managers to roll back their increases and use that money to help out our fellow residents and also pay the bills in the city.
Right, pay the bills in the city and shore up areas that need to be shored up, like city code enforcement and things like that, because you ain't got any money, what gets cut? Training and all that other stuff.
Yes, sir.
But, with the policing's a different thing. That's in the contract. Thank God we are in a contracted city of a police department, because if we weren't, we would have to start cutting police officers.
Yep.
And then what happens when you cut police officers? The crime goes up, but because we have a contract, nothing gets cut.
Yes.
We get everything that's in that negotiation. But so let me ask you about Dr. McBean, and you know Dr.
Okay.
McBean as well. You know, she's a very formidable lady. I was very impressed when I interviewed her and everything like that. But you know, she's running for mayor also. And what is your take on your opponent?
Well, I look at it like this. I see the word change, and you know, everybody wants to change. They want different leadership, but in this time, you need to have a problem solver. Mm-hmm. I admire her for saying that, but change is, you got to have something more than change.
Okay.
You got to have vision. You got to be specific about the things that we have out here. I mean, the things, you just can't do some things with executive order because we are a general law city. A mayor doesn't have executive order power.
Authority.
Yeah, you need 3 votes to make anything happen. So you're gonna have to be able to work with other people. You're gonna have to unite our city and bring our differences and bridge our differences so we can move forward together.
Right. You mentioned you can't do nothing without 3 votes. Earlier today, you were talking about one of the things that you're going to change when you become mayor, mm-hmm. and how to put things on the agenda. You're going to go back to the 2-man format.
Yes, because it makes no sense to have 3, because 3 is almost like I said before earlier in one of my videos, it's like a Brown Act violation. To me, 3 to prove something, it should go back where it used to be, 2. So put it on the agenda. Let's have a discussion, then vote on it.
Well,
and that's it.
Well, why even have 2? Why can't any elected council member put anything on the agenda? Why does it have to be 2? Why, why?
You got a point there.
I'm elected, so I want to put the Adrian Mitchell Park on the agenda. Why do I got to go to another council member just to approve my idea? I'm an elected council member. I should be able to put whatever I want on that agenda.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
I don't object to anything like that.
Yeah, I mean,
but
have 2, then 3, maybe 4. You know, it's ridiculous.
Well, I think everybody should have a voice.
Yes, absolutely.
It may be 2, then maybe it's 1.
Well, what if I don't like the 4 of you guys? I don't like none of you guys.
I think everybody should. This is a representative government that people should have.
I'm here to
right.
represent my district. I don't give a crap what you guys do.
Yeah, you can put. I would just say just put it on the agenda. And see where it goes. I have no objection with that.
Yeah. Okay, you know, that's what we need to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm all for ideas that's going to improve the democracy we have, improve what we have now than what we have.
Right.
Well,
what's our biggest challenge in Moreno Valley besides getting out of the COVID and getting everybody back to work? And speaking of back to work, what is your idea because warehouses are not cutting it. Now, we see what has happened when a major pandemic or situation happens and you have warehouse workers. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Done. It's a wrap. How are we going to recover from this, Mayor-elect?
Well, again, okay, check this out. We have the over on the east end. We have the hospital over there.
Sure,
it's growing,
mm-hmm.
and think about it. They're bringing all of these different businesses in that area.
Sure.
So my thinking is this: is to do a more collaboration with the county to build that area on that side like Loma Linda. Not say, I mean, as a medical complex on that side where we can have
that idea we had years ago.
Yeah, and we should fulfill it and do what we need to do to bring it in. But at the same time, we create a hybrid training apprenticeship program to train the people so they can benefit from the new businesses that come over there.
Right, but you know, here's the funny thing. Whenever I hear people say, "Oh, we're going to train the people to do that," but you know, Moreno Valley, whatever. Not everybody wants to be in the medical field. Not everybody wants. You know, see what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's not going to be successful, but you can't just say, "I'm going to, you know, train into the medical field."
No. But see, you remember when I was talking about that hybrid? See, this model that I presented, I don't know, a week ago at a council meeting, mm-hmm. you could use that model to fit any industry that you want to attract. So it's not that we could train for medical, you could train for anything. But it's a prototype where you just say, whatever industry comes in, you could go to Moreno Valley College, set the curriculum, and train whatever industry. Use that model to put people into those jobs. So it don't have to be medical. Okay. But what it does, though, it opens up the door for other industries to come in because they see we have a training program that will meet their needs and meet our needs. So what that does, it will bring other industries other than warehouses. It bring other things than medical. It could bring advanced manufacturing or green jobs. But it will be something that will attract people. That they say, you know what, they're going to train. They have the capability of training educated, skilled workforce. We don't have to bring people from outside to fit these jobs. They can use their residents to fit them because they don't need to have a 4-year degree to fit in some of these high-paying jobs. But that's what I'm saying. It's not just a one-size-fit-all thing.
Okay.
You can fit it for this one. You can use it for any industry. It could be used for any industry.
Okay, great. But let's transition to your job.
Okay.
Everybody's been out of work. A lot of my neighbors here in the District 1 in the Edgemont area, you notice a lot of people have been taking the time off work to work on their properties. A lot of people are either pulling their grass out, putting their grass in. They're doing those honey-do lists and stuff like that. So depending on how you look at this pandemic, you can either sit on your hands and sit on your ass and do nothing, or you can be positive about it. So, but then you got some people on the east side of the city, those are newer homes and things like that, but yet they're not keeping the property up, and code enforcement isn't enforcing anything, and now you're seeing the east side of the city move toward a downward trend. And so at your job, I mean, how is business going in regards to home improvement?
Or at Lowe's?
Yeah, at Lowe's.
Well, it's not like we've been busy, so it seems like we've been like rocking and rolling.
Right.
Ever through this pandemic, and you have your slow times, but it's like people they're buying plants, grass covers, they're buying sprinkler heads. They're doing all the honey-do list. There's been more people than it's been a lot more at the beginning, but it's now it kind of slid off, but now it's back where it's at.
Well, it's cooler now too, so people want to do more work and stuff like that. Because like I said, I'm going to be doing my front yard and redoing that very, very soon. And that's the thing, people that are listening. You could either pick lemons and have lemons and be sour about it, or you can make lemonade. And that's what I think a lot of people are taking advantage of, the fact that, hey, now I've got time to work on my property. And when you work on your property taxes go up because your area looks better. But the flip side of that, and the reality of what is happening is, like you said, on Heacock and Ironwood, we put a warehouse smack dab in the middle of a residential area, and you got trucks running up and down the street that is bringing the property values down. And earlier today, you were could you expound on what you were saying about the road tax, or the road thing that you were saying?
Let's look at it like this. I had a voter not text me, but answer on my Facebook page at Daryl Terrell Times, when I did the video about how to bring better high-paying jobs. And so one of the questions she asked was about that same thing you were talking about, the warehousing. And I tell her like this: the warehouses itself don't bring much. It brings revenue, but not enough to pay for the roads that they're tearing up.
Right.
And though our streets are not made for a big old truck like those trucks that go up and down. So my solution would have been, and I told this to you, Donovan, is a logistic infrastructure impact fee based on the number of trips out of the warehouses in a day. Just based on that. That money would go for us to pay the streets.
Right, so we don't have to use the same dollars every.
Yeah. Well, we shouldn't have to pay for it, because people say, well, they bring them around. I said, well, that's not the point. These trucks on there every single day tearing up the streets.
And let me ask you this real quick, because a lot of people don't even realize this. These warehouses are approved, but they're not occupied. It's like we're building warehouses and they're not being used immediately off the bat. How does that work?
I remember I could tell you a story about that to lead into it, because I remember. I don't know if you guys remember Aldi's, how that was. And one of the developers, Dennis Rice, said, he said, I asked him about this. I said, Dennis, I said, what are you going to put in this warehouse? Because people are so concerned that you're going to build an empty warehouse. But basically what these guys want to need is the entitlement of the property, the entitlement of the zoning. To change the zoning so the property, the zoning could make the property more valuable. But I couldn't. He said, I said, the people are afraid. Because I remember telling him, I said, people are afraid you're going to build an empty warehouse. Nobody wants to see an empty warehouse. People want to know from you, are you going to build an empty warehouse? He says, no, I'm not going to build an empty warehouse. And so the thing is, these folks that build these empty warehouses should be building the empty warehouse. If they want the entitlement, get the entitlement. But don't build an empty warehouse unless you know who's coming and you know for sure. Because I always wondered, just like you, that having an empty warehouse, you must know who's coming. Oh, I don't have no idea. Then why are you building it?
Why are you building it? Exactly.
It don't make any sense because your property already going to increase in value because you got the zoning change and you got the entitlement. So that's going to be more attractive to bring somebody out here. But why build it? And my question would be, as mayor, why are we building empty warehouses? We shouldn't be building because nobody's coming. If it's zoned for the area, yeah, but why build an empty warehouse? Just to sit there and do what? And you waiting for somebody to come in. If people don't want to see an empty warehouse, just keep the doggone property empty.
Correct.
That's what I think.
Correct. And a lot of people ask me that question. I said, that doesn't make any sense. If you're going to bring this, it's like a business. When you approve a business, you don't tell the restaurant owner, okay, of course we got 30-something Mexican restaurants within the last 4 years that have been approved, and half of them, or most of them are gone, or getting ready to be gone right now. But you don't have a business come in, let's say Staples or another business, and then you just say, they say, yeah, okay, you approve it. Yeah, we'll be here next year.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That's what I could never figure out.
Yeah, you're going to be here next year, but you approved it now,
it's just
it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
There's no revenue coming for it.
No, it's just an empty eyesore.
Yeah, but then another business could have came in and said, hey, I'm ready to go right now.
Yeah.
And that would have been a little better deal.
I mean, that to me, you got the entitlement. Why do you need to build if you don't know who's coming? Because that's the first question I asked the guy for Aldi, Dennis. I said, you know who's coming? No. I said, if you did, then I can see you building it. But if you don't know, why build it? That's what I told him. I said, that's why people don't like what's happening because you're building a warehouse that's empty.
Right.
But thank God Aldi came in.
Yeah.
But that's what people are leery about. I am too.
Well, I'm kind of pissed off because that warehouse that's smack dab on Ironwood and Heacock, it's empty. There's nobody in there. So why build it?
That's the thing I think as mayor, that we could find a way.
That scumbag Mike Lee, we need to get him up out of there and say, look, dude, you need to do your job because this is ridiculous. If somebody's going to come here, they need to come here now.
Yeah. You just don't build and then come. You got an empty warehouse sitting there.
And we have several.
Yeah.
Several in this city.
We have to put in a policy. We have to change. We have to put in a policy that if it's not ready, then don't build it. Don't build it. Just keep the entitlement.
Well, and the thing is, the people that are building it, they're the only ones making money, and they don't live here.
Yeah.
The construction company doesn't live here. These are people coming from Orange County and Santa Ana, and a lot of people that may be illegal, maybe. They're building it at cheapest of the cost that they can, and that money is not spent in this city.
Well, that's the thing. Just the sake of building an empty building and putting people to work on the empty building, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if they were coming, that's another thing. But if you don't know who's coming, you're just gonna speculate. It's speculation. Just bringing an empty building for what? To hoping that you can pay somebody or work with the real estate to bring in somebody. But how long that's gonna take with this pandemic going on? It may take forever.
And what's really sad is whenever I fly around and I look down. I mean, when I used to fly in the military at March Air Force Base back then, you used to look down and the view from March as you're flying over here and looking at the hills and stuff, it was so beautiful because you didn't see any warehousing. 30 years ago, it was just beautiful. The view, you could see the snow on the mountain. I mean, it was gorgeous out here. Now when you take off and you fly and you see these just ugly ass buildings, you're just like, what happened here? Well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense that this is how you've zoned your city.
It doesn't make any sense because like I said before, last week is these warehouses reflect our education attainment level of this city, high school education. If they see the vision should have been that we should look higher and above than what we see right now beyond our limitation.
Right.
And that would have been different, but people, we need jobs. Yeah, but at the same time, you want people to live in poverty the rest of their life.
Right. But the thing is, though, what I'm saying is, okay, Riverside's over 100-something years old as a city.
Yeah.
We're only 30-something years old. So you can't really compare the two, okay?
True.
But you look at Riverside, whenever I fly over Riverside, on their side of the 215, they've got warehouses, and that's where the majority of their warehouses are along the 91. Okay? Two specific areas, not near their residential area. When I fly over Moreno Valley, I see a warehouse here, I see it over there, I see it over here. It's like there's no reasonable planning on how to do this.
It's more like spot zoning. It's just to bring warehouses to fill people in there.
Remember on Alessandra, that was the big area, had a theater down there?
Yeah.
On Alessandra, and then that stopped, and then they went up to, not Towngate, but what's the one past Towngate? Festival, it was like...
the festival where that
the movie
warehouse
theater,
is.
Yeah, the warehouse is now, but remember that movie theater that was across...
Yeah. It was the same, wasn't that same...
It was across the 60, yeah, it was across the 60.
Okay.
You had that, and then if you go up to Paris Boulevard, past the 60 a little bit, they built it up with the Food for Less. And stuff like that. It's like we just start an area, then it dies off, and you start an area, then it dies off, and you start an area, then it dies off. It's like, who is planning this city? And it looks so. There was so much potential here, and it's just depressing when you look at it. And then now you see these young people that are in this city that are fleeing the city at an alarming rate. Because there's nothing here. They don't want to work in warehouses. This isn't the jobs that they want. But yet you have these parents, mostly Hispanic, that are saying they want, maybe it's a cultural thing. And again, I'm not Hispanic, so I wouldn't know anything about that. I don't want my children living where I decided to live the rest of my life. They should go out and live with them. But I guess it might be a cultural thing where they want to live all together. But if you're going to do that, look at the jobs you're leaving for your children.
See, we should have set our sights higher than we are, and that's the lack of leadership. When you don't, when you sit there and you want warehouses, you don't have to build warehouses where it's zoned. You could have changed instead of having warehouses, advanced manufacturing, or the different high growth industries. But instead, we set our sights on warehouses because that was a quick fix, jobs, but more poverty, and payday loans go along with it. Yeah. And other businesses that feed off people that live in poverty. And that's why you see Moreno Valley with a lot of payday loans, pawn shops.
You would have thought with an Air Force base right there, you would have got into like ROAR, aviation, high maintenance type stuff. We need aircraft mechanics. We need technicians. These are $25 an hour jobs. Yeah. Ontario, we just got that back from Los Angeles. Right here in the Inland Empire, we could have had a whole town. Look at the Amazon fulfillment center here with all those planes that take off from March in the morning and the evenings. Yeah. We could have had a whole group of young people, because here's what a lot of people don't really even understand about the aviation industry. Okay. A lot of people my age and older, we're retiring. We need to replace these people. Yes, there's a lot of automation going on in flying things, but you still need mechanics. You still need avionic technicians. You still need those people that have experience. Yeah. We have a whole pool of young people with an Air Force base right there. Yeah. What's our excuse? High-paying job. This is a high-paying job.
Well, that's the same. That's what I was saying about cluster-related industries. Yeah. Built around the base. Like you could have different type of industries to relate it to airplanes. To be a lot of related. And that's how you keep an economy, a sustainable economy, because...
Well, just think about it. If you have a person that has a avionics background, or even he's an aircraft maintenance technician, they can go work for Tesla. Yeah. They can go work, in automate. They can do those things because you're a rated, certified aircraft mechanic.
Well, that's the thing about it. We so short-sighted and focus on warehouses. Again, because we don't set our sights higher. Like you were saying, you got need mechanics, you need all type of advanced people with skills. Right.
Supply, you need, everything that comes with an aeronautic.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. And that's what you don't have now. Instead, you got warehouses.
Everybody wants to travel. You still need gate agents. You still need, people flight attendants. You still need, all those type of things. And it's right here at the base.
Well,
and then you can go to Ontario. Then you can go to San Bernardino. and then you can go to Riverside Municipal. All this stuff is interchangeable.
That's again, you have short sight. You don't have that kind of vision that looks beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying is the kind of keys that when I'm elected, that we can it's not too late. And I believe in our residents, and I believe that with a change of leadership at City Hall and get rid of some of these people out of here who think only warehousing, and to have a mind that's open to other industries.
Yeah.
We put those together, then maybe we can do this and set it up where we can formulate, where we can have like an innovation district, where the medical is, or where the World Logistics Center is. Maybe we could do something like that by the base. Maybe there's patches of things we can do to create the pockets that we need, that we can grow it to have sustainable economics and prosperity.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, you guys heard it here first. You got candidate Darrell Terrell, who is telling you a vote for him is a vote for a basic income. And it's also a vote for a person that is thinking how to dig us out of the problem that the current idiot Mayor Gutierrez has put us in, and the Highland Fairview Stooges. This is their making. This is what they wanted to do. This is what happens when you have low maintenance jobs for the citizens of a city. Warehousing is not a sustainable type job. It's just enough to live. It's not enough to do anything, because you can't have a savings off of it. You can't do anything. And this is what Highland Fairview, Mayor Gutierrez, Victoria Baca, and what's really sad is they did this to their own people. That's what I really am disappointed in. I mean, to bring these kind of jobs to your own people, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, that's the thing about it. Again, like you were saying, if you want to get people a path out of poverty, you got to create economic mobility. Warehouse jobs don't give you economic mobility. It keeps you in poverty, and it keeps you in the hospital because you can be so wore out and tired, and it keeps you dependent on payday loans, or you have to go.
Fast junk food.
Yeah, like Donovan said, it makes it unhealthy. It makes us not be able to think about buying a house like the house that you have, or to own something, because the jobs don't pay enough so you could have a mortgage.
Right, and then which means that you're staying with your parents longer than you really want to, and you will never technically grow up, because guess what? You're now at a point where I hope my mom and dad die. You're just waiting for that so you can inherit whatever you can inherit, because this is what your city thinks of you.
We don't have ownership of society, community. Right. We basically rent.
Right, and then those of us that have the wherewithal, whenever I hear kids say, "Oh, there's nothing to do here in Moreno Valley," just think what this place looked like when I was a kid. That was nothing to do. We weren't even a city then. Yeah. We weren't even a city. Yes. You had a choice. Either you join the military or you head toward Orange County or LA and try to find your way. And the only way out of here was the military, and that's the route